History of St. Patrick's Day. Who is St. Patrick? Every year on March 17th, the streets are painted green, rivers turn into emerald streams, and millions of people around the world celebrate a mysterious and ancient holiday, St. Patrick's Day. But what do we really know about this day? Why did an ordinary monk become a symbol of Ireland and his story turned into a legend? St. Patrick is a figure surrounded by secrets. Some consider him the savior of Ireland, who drove out the snakes from there. Others, the bearer of ancient knowledge that came from distant lands. His biography is full of mysteries: kidnapping, slavery, mystical visions, the fight with the Druids, and the conversion of an entire people to a new faith. But were the snakes driven out by Patrick real? Why did his name become a symbol of luck and the magic of clover? And what secrets does this day hide, which has long gone beyond religion and turned into a grandiose world celebration? Today we will dive into the true history of St. Patrick. We will figure out what legends surround his name, debunk myths, and find out what secret message this ancient holiday holds. Ready to reveal the secrets? Then let's begin. St. Patrick is a figure shrouded in legend, myth, and mystery. His story begins not in Ireland, as many people think, but in Roman Britain, where he was born sometime in the late 4th, early 5th century. His real name was Maven Sacath, but today he is known as Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. However, his path to holiness and immortal glory was far from blessed. At the age of 16, his life changed forever. According to historical sources, young Patrick was kidnapped by Irish pirates and sold into slavery. So he found himself in a foreign land, among people who spoke an incomprehensible language, practiced Druidism and pagan rituals. For 6 years he herded cattle in the mountains of Ireland, enduring cold, hunger, and loneliness. It was during this time, according to him, that he turned to God. Prayers became his only consolation. But Patrick was not broken. According to legend, one day he had a divine vision in which a voice told him to run. He followed this call, traveled hundreds of kilometers, reached the shore, and miraculously escaping capture, managed to find a ship that would take him home. However, his fate was already predetermined. He could not forget Ireland. His dreams were filled with the voices of the Irish asking him to return and bring them a new faith. Patrick went to study in a monastery and then voluntarily returned to the country that had once enslaved him. There he began his missionary work, preaching Christianity among the pagans. He built churches, baptized people, argued with the Druids, and destroyed their ritual stones. They say that his arrival changed Ireland forever, because after him, the island became Christian. But here's the mystery. Many historians doubt that St. Patrick was one person. There are too many moments in his biography that seem like myths or echoes of someone else's stories. Some believe that his image is a collective myth created from the biographies of several early missionaries. The real Patrick may not have been the miracle worker that legends portray him to be, but his influence on Irish history was undoubtedly enormous. He straddles the line between reality and myth. What is true in his story and what is a product of popular imagination? How did an ordinary man become a saint whose name is now associated with a great holiday? The answer is hidden in history, but one thing is certain: St. Patrick changed Ireland, and his legacy lives on to this day. The legend of St. Patrick banishing snakes is one of the most famous stories associated with this saint, but there is much more to it than meets the eye. According to the legend, Patrick said a prayer, climbed to the top of a hill, and with divine power banished all the snakes from Ireland, depriving the island of these creatures forever. However, there is one curious fact. There have never been snakes in Ireland. Not before Patrick, and not after him. The island ecosystem simply did not allow these reptiles to settle here after the last ice age. So why did this myth become part of his legacy? There's a theory that the snakes in the legend are not real creatures, but a symbol of pagan cults that St. Patrick tried to eradicate. Before his arrival, Ireland was a country of Druids, priests who worshipped ancient gods, used sacred rituals, and knew magical practices. The snake symbol is common in Celtic mythology and could be associated with nature worship, fertility rituals, and ancient deities whose power lasted for centuries. Perhaps the myth of the expulsion of snakes actually symbolizes the destruction of the old faith and the arrival of a new religion. This version is supported by the fact that Patrick actively fought against Druidism. His life mentions that he not only preached Christianity, but also literally entered into magical duels with the Druids, demonstrating the power of his god. They say that he destroyed sacred pagan stones, extinguished the ritual fires of the Druids, and even converted priests to his faith, showing that their gods were powerless before the Christian God. The expulsion of snakes in this context is nothing more than an allegory of the victory of Christianity over paganism. However, there is another version. The snake is an ancient symbol of wisdom, knowledge, and the power of nature. Perhaps this myth is connected with the fact that Patrick not only replaced one religion with another, but also tried to change the very way of thinking of the people, turning them away from their previous spiritual knowledge. In some circles, it is believed that the expulsion of snakes can be interpreted as the destruction of the secret knowledge of the Druids, which had been preserved for centuries. So who was Patrick really? A saint who saved Ireland from evil, or a man who changed the religious landscape but destroyed an ancient culture? The legend of snakes remains one of the most mysterious pages of its history, but one thing is certain: it is not just a fairy tale. Behind this myth there is a real struggle for power, faith, and spiritual dominance, and traces of this struggle are felt in Ireland to this day. The shamrock, or trefoil, is one of the most recognizable symbols of Ireland and an integral part of St. Patrick's Day. According to legend, Patrick himself used it to explain to the Irish the complex concept of the Holy Trinity. 3 leaves, but one whole, like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This simple but powerful image took root so deeply that it became an integral symbol of Christian Ireland. However, there is one mysterious moment in this story. The shamrock was a sacred symbol long before the advent of Christianity. Celtic Druids revered the shamrock as a sacred plant associated with magic, natural cycles, and secret knowledge. The number 3 in their beliefs had a deep meaning. It symbolized the balance of the world, connecting the earth, sky, and the underworld, the past, present, and future, birth, life, and death. The Druids used the shamrock in rituals dedicated to the goddess Bridget, and considered it an amulet that brought good luck and protection from evil spirits. But here's what's interesting. If Patrick really wanted to destroy paganism, why did he choose the shamrock to explain Christian doctrine? Perhaps he was not trying to erase ancient traditions, but on the contrary, adapted them to the new faith. This is one of the most unexpected theories. Patrick may not have been a destroyer of the Celtic spiritual heritage, but its transformer. This method was actively used by early Christian missionaries who, instead of completely destroying local beliefs, rewrote them in a new way. For example, many Celtic holidays were reformatted into Christian ones. Imbolc turned into St. Bridget's Day, Samhain became All Saints' Day, and pagan symbols such as the sun cross were integrated into new religious images. Thus the shamrock, which once symbolized the spiritual power of the Druids, was transformed into a sign of the Christian faith. But was it still the same? Perhaps this was the secret of Patrick's mission, not to destroy, but to change, to make faith accessible to people who were used to thinking in pagan archetypes. Perhaps there is more to this shamrock than it seems. Perhaps it is a coded message, a subtle link between the old world of Celtic traditions and the new order of Christianity. And if so, then St. Patrick's Day is not just a holiday, but a reminder of the great transformation of faith that took place in Ireland centuries ago. March 17th is the day when the whole world turns green, rivers turn emerald, and millions of people take to the streets to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. The official version is that it was on this day that St. Patrick died. However, if you delve into history, a mysterious fact emerges. There is no exact data on the date of his death. Moreover, why did March 17 become a symbolic date for the Irish holiday if there is no historical evidence for this? There is a theory that connects this day not so much with the personality of Patrick, but with an ancient Celtic holiday associated with the spring equinox. The Celts revered the change of seasons, and March was a time of awakening of nature, the return of the sun, the balance of light and darkness. It was during this period that the Druid rituals dedicated to the renewal of the world and the glorification of the gods of fertility took place. At the same time, one of the sacred holidays of the Celtic tradition was celebrated, which, according to some historians, was absorbed by Christianity. This is far from the first case when the early church deliberately chose the dates of pagan celebrations to introduce new Christian holidays. This method allowed not to destroy the traditions familiar to the people, but to rewrite their meaning, turning them into part of the new religion. For example, Christmas was combined with the winter solstice, and Easter with ancient spring rites. Thus, it is possible that March 17th was not at all a coincidence that it became St. Patrick's Day. This could have been a deliberate step, allowing Christianity to gently replace old rituals with new traditions. St. Patrick is a symbol of the new faith, and his day of remembrance coincided with the date when the Celts honored their gods. But does this mean that St. Patrick's Day is just a Christianized version of an ancient pagan holiday? Perhaps so. And perhaps this is precisely what has become the reason why this day has acquired such powerful energy and global significance. After all, regardless of religious views, March 17 continues to carry the symbolism of renewal, rebirth, and unity, as it did thousands of years ago. The story of St. Patrick is traditionally presented as a triumph of Christianity over paganism, with him acting as a missionary who destroyed the power of the Druids and eradicated their traditions. However, there is another, much more intriguing version. What if Patrick himself was a Druid? What if he did not destroy their knowledge, but secretly preserved it, integrating it into a new religion? In Irish legends, St. Patrick is not just a preacher, but a man with unusual abilities, comparable to the magical powers of ancient priests. Some texts describe how he controlled the weather, commanded animals, stopped fire, and even predicted the future. These descriptions are too reminiscent of stories about the Druids who, according to legend, possessed secret knowledge about nature, energies, and supernatural powers. There are also references to Patrick being trained in Gaul, modern France, which was one of the last strongholds of the Druidic tradition. He may have studied not only Christian texts, but also the secret knowledge of the Celts, which he then used in his mission. His preaching methods were also remarkably similar to the rituals of the Druids. He used fire in ceremonies, appealed to symbols of nature, and most importantly, used the trefoil, a sacred sign of the Druids, in his sermon on the Holy Trinity. This version challenges the usual idea that Patrick was the main fighter against paganism. Perhaps he did not so much destroy the Druids as transform their knowledge into a new form, making it part of the Christian world. This explains why Ireland preserved so many ancient magical traditions, which later intertwined with Christianity. But if this is true, then why are we told that Patrick was precisely the destroyer of paganism? Perhaps because secret knowledge is always dangerous, and the Church could not allow the story of a missionary to be associated with magic and ancient mystical practices. The legend that he drove out snakes could be an allegory not for the destruction of paganism, but for its transformation into a new form. So who was Patrick really? A monk who came with a sword and a cross? Or a keeper of ancient knowledge who managed to weave into Christianity what should not have disappeared? History is silent, but the legends live on, and perhaps there is a truth hidden behind them that we have yet to uncover. Today, St. Patrick's Day has become a global holiday, celebrated not only in Ireland but all over the world. This day is associated with colorful parades, green clothes, music, and of course, Irish beer. On this day, the streets are filled with crowds of people dressed in green suits with images of shamrocks, and large-scale events are held around the world where traditional Irish melodies are played. Even if you are not a fan of music, then at least the taste of beer is guaranteed to be on everyone's lips on this day. But here's what's surprising. Until the end of the 19th century, this holiday was not a mass celebration in Ireland itself. At first, St. Patrick's Day was, first of all, a religious holiday, which remembered the saint, his exploits and miracles performed on Irish soil. The Church celebrated this day modestly, and only over time did the holiday acquire a more secular character. Mass celebrations, parades, and folk processions began to appear only in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when the holiday became part of Irish identity. But even more surprising is the fact that the modern format of the holiday as we know it today was largely created in the United States of America. The idea of holding large-scale street parades with music, dancing, and mass celebrations actually originated in New York, where the first St. Patrick's Day parade was held in 1762. This event attracted a huge number of Irish immigrants who were looking for ways to demonstrate their culture and identity in an alien American environment. Over time, this holiday became one of the most anticipated and popular events in the United States, and marketing played its role in its spread throughout the world. The green clothes that have become a symbol of the holiday actually have their own history. Green was originally associated with the Irish national color and ancient myths about sacred hills and lakes, but it was the marketing industry that made green clothing an integral part of the mass celebration. In addition, green on St. Patrick's Day symbolizes not only Ireland but also magical creatures such as leprechauns, figures of small, good-natured gnomes, which became part of the mass cultural association with this holiday. Interestingly, in Ireland, the holiday itself acquired a truly mass character only at the end of the 20th century, when the country began to attract tourists. It was then that parades and festivals in honor of St. Patrick became key events in Irish culture, and St. Patrick's Day turned into one of the most profitable industries associated with tourism. As a result, today we celebrate St. Patrick's Day as a universal holiday filled with fun, music, traditions, and beer, which connects people from different countries and cultures. But if you think about it more deeply, it turns out that this holiday, with its bright attributes and wild street celebrations, may have been created not by ancient Irish traditions, but by a brilliant marketing move that transformed St. Patrick from a symbol of religious history into a global cultural phenomenon. St. Patrick is not just a symbol associated with history and religion. His personality is shrouded in mystery, myth, and even magic. Was he a true saint who came to Ireland to preach Christianity, or was he a master of ancient knowledge who adapted pagan traditions and rewrote them for a new religious context? What if Patrick was not only a conqueror of spiritual hearts, but also a keeper of ancient secrets hidden in symbols and rituals that we still do not fully understand? What would Ireland be like without him? Perhaps we would never know all the mysteries of this amazing country. But one thing is clear. Celebrating his day is not only a tribute to history, but also a testimony to how ancient myths, knowledge, and traditions can transform, survive centuries, and become an integral part of our culture. What do you think? What secrets does St. Patrick's Day really hide? Write in the comments and let's discuss. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and check out other historical videos. There are still many interesting mysteries and secrets ahead.